Good morning, everyone. Well, this seems kind of crazy, some remnants of maybe 1999, but we got to look at the charts and it hasn't gone vertical yet. It's been more of this rolling kind of upward trending at times just sideways corrections. I mean, I think yesterday we looked at multiple sectors or indices that had this head and shoulders type of a top forming. It broke it. It held the next level. You know, Fed talks. It looked pretty nasty. It was nasty in intraday, right? The way it fell, and suggested more downside, but more news coming. Right, earnings reports, and these gap ups seem a little overdone. As the thing said, is the smart money being stupid to pay these prices? I think I don't think we'll know in hindsight. Probably longer term, not, but on a short term basis, I think paying up today, this morning, for those that are maybe doing that, somebody's doing it, whether they're, hedges, shorts covering, or just outright buying. I think the outright buying seems foolish on a short term basis anyway, and likely that uh, they'll come back. Yet to be seen what happens today. But overall, as I look at this trend, there's nothing wrong. Right? It advances, it corrects, it slowly advances, it corrects, it advances. Red bars are ignored, rising 20, rising 50, short term extended. No one gives a damn, right? As long as the news comes out. But as more positive news comes out, and maybe today will tell the tale, uh, with everything that was being lifted, last I looked, Apple was down. And that used to be the leader. And so we'll see what happens tonight when it reports and what the reaction is to that. Um, but just keeping in perspective, right, out of individual stocks, there's nothing wrong with this trend. But if it accelerates, continues to move higher, we just know historically that it's near its end than a new beginning. That's for sure. And this is just an amazing advance after a nasty drop like that. And it continues. So as always, we'll see how the day progresses. Similar, right? Pull back toward minor support. Now, news is driving this. You know, what a nasty bar yesterday, to the downside, and it completely is recovered, and is consolidating there on a short-term basis. We've got a little breakout bar failure, which is defined by a small consolidation, a breakout, an inside bar, and then it violates the low of the inside bar. So now it comes down to the pivot, which it is held, and it's holding here. So some profit taking, whatever it is, you know, on a short term basis, a little falter, and it's got a void. Right, this is a big void here that prices could fall back into, and that is you know the issue with such a momentum move, that now there's no support. Now, as this is here, it's cleared this prior high. As long as it holds it somewhere in this area, right, it's okay. If it turns into a big nasty red bar today, well, there's great information that would indicate a short-term high. We'll find out. Even the Dow is up a little bit, not really too much, lagging. And this is what you would expect after a down bar. And even, I mean, the most bearish would have been if it went sideways down here, and could not advance after the big nasty drop. So just big nasty drops also create voids, which opens up the door to potentially moving up, and it did. So you can see how it's kind of starting to roll over, and maybe we'll keep an eye on this to see if it continues to weaken. The Russell is down, but coming into a support area. So when I say a big nasty down bar, and the most bearish thing would be for it to stay at the bottom. So when we see big wide range bars, one of our thought processes is, okay, does this stay in the lower half or in the lower third? The idea being this created a void, and now it could retrace to a minor resistance, but if it can't, this is the idea of creating resistance, and it stays down here. Now, the art, if you will, of understanding multiple time frames, putting that in perspective, is a huge thing to understand and put these things together. So as I look at the daily chart and it's down several days in a row, it's not that this can't go lower based on what I just said, but you want to put it in perspective of, like I said, multiple time frames, and not think, oh, this is going to crash. Right? It's not going to crash. Right? Just technical analysis 101. You look to the left, there's a pivot low here, there's some congestion. So while on a short-term basis, it could possibly make a relatively substantial move, there's going to be buyers down here. Common sense. Down several days in a row. Should this accelerate into this area, there'll be buyers. Now, at the end of tomorrow, what we're going to be interested to see across the board is what the weekly chart looks like. This bar is in development. So if it's larger and a larger red bar, call it bearish engulfing, call it, like Dan would say, a giraffe or whatever, it's just a big, nasty red bar after a move up, and that would be bearish. And so now we would then reverse the whole processes and say, hey, if it's down here, does it go sideways? And then we'd look next week for another collapse, or does it reverse back up by the end of the day tomorrow and turn this into a bottoming tail bar, which would be super bullish. Right? We're watching, we're developing on a short-term basis. We can have a bias that, yes, this could go lower toward this area, or does it hold here and turn around? We can get dragged up by everything else. Trades are set up by putting these things in alignment that put the odds in your favor, right? So things gapping up as they are that shows strength. They might, turn back lower. We'd look for breakout failures intraday, and we'll see what happens. Gold coming back off of these lows here. Again, is it just a reaction to what's happening here this morning? Is it just, hey, it came down to support, it's coming up to the middle of the range, right? What is it going to do? Right? Does the 65-minute wide range bar up? Does it turn into an M top? Things aren't lined up here. So waiting. Silver is still down. Maybe it begins to turn here. A disappointment. It looked great. Now it's breaking lower because the dollar has strengthened. And so here it is. Right? So we talked about this over the last, several weeks. I talked about this potentially bottoming. We're not so sure. I pointed out this support area down here on the monthly chart. So this is a recommendation in our ETF letter. As it got in, as it started to move up, partial position. Again, weekly chart. Does it end with a bullish wide range bar? What happens by the end of the day? So far, this looks like a good bottoming pattern, multiple time frames in an area of major support. And we'll see how far it goes. It's got room to go up. Looks good for the moment. Crude oil. That had moved up, right? Had this retest, right? I had to say it one more time, and I won't say it again today. Look to the left, right? It's one of the most enlightening things that entered my mind years ago was like, take the fib levels off, take all the bullshit off, just look to the left and see where it turned before. That's where buyers are going to be. That's where sellers are going to be. And this exceeded where the sellers are. And that's a positive, and it's got room to go up, which this is not a positive, right? You would think for the broader markets, inflation concerns, if it continues to go up, it'll be in the news. Interest rates, same story, big range, little range, middle of the range, just continues to flip flop around here. Now, the most, I guess, and we look at what is wrong. Well, the breath stinks. Now it's gotten to an extreme. Sentiment is up here. And we've seen this before, right? It's the big stocks, as it was. I don't know whether it was a year or so ago. The breath was terrible. The markets held up, and it was the big cap stocks that were moving. That's where the institutions were, and that's what it is again, right? So we see the Russell not doing anything when the market is firing on all cylinders, so to speak. Right, it is, and you've got this movement in more speculative stocks. So you think this isn't speculative, with these stocks gapping up as they are. I guess somewhat it is, right? But from a broader market perspective, right, there's still money to be made in individual stocks. And we'd like to see sentiment, some corrective price action where sentiment comes down into here. And we'll see if that's going to happen. Right now, you know, S&P is gapping up above 6,400, and bets have now started. Well, maybe for a little while there was probably bets there calling for 6,500. Right? So we'll see. Um, but this isn't good when breadth is narrow like that, and coming down as this is. Right? All right. Yeah. Those spiders gapping up. Right. And I just put the red area up there. I just pushed it out of the way because it's meaningless since it's all-time highs. But just pointing out again, short-term extended, but overall moving up in a constructive way. Right? And that's positive. Uh, Before I look, I just want to look at XLF here. Because yeah. So pulling. So this is what we refer to as how we reach slowing momentum, the distance between highs. So this strong momentum, and then it gets up above the high, and then it makes an immediate turn. And where is that? It's not gapping up. All right, so maybe one strike there. KRE pulling back to the 20 and the 50 there. There should be buyers down here, and we'll see. We'll keep an eye on this in the coming days to see if this can make a turn. But um, short term not looking so great. Mid caps slowing momentum, and we only get some dots there pre-market, but that's actually opening a little lower by what we can tell by the dots. Semiconductors came back after the deep retracement, so still bullish there. So you got to pick the right sectors. And Bitcoin still doing nothing, just consolidating the gains. So SPX, nothing got touched yesterday. It was almost there, but the extreme was below 6,300. So now it's gapping up here. It would take something catastrophic in news to pull things down here, even to get near yesterday's low, and there would be no doubt the market has made a bearish turn. So it's not going there today. I don't even think, I haven't checked to see, like, after the earnings news, like, who cares about the economic news? Let's see. I didn't even look this morning. Personal spending is already out. It's actually way up and above consensus. Jobless claims up, not a big deal. Consensus was higher, so PCE in alignment. So nobody cares. Anyway, so The high strike is way up there. So this is gapping up. I suppose that's within striking distance. I suspect that there'll be some selling at the open, and so any pullbacks toward, right, minor support on the daily time frame, there should be buyers. Any pullback towards 6,400 should get bought. Minor support, it's a whole number. Um, you know, so what was resistance becomes support, right? Common sense, reversal. So somewhere in here, buyers should materialize. To you, Dan?
Good morning. Those were some crazy gaps last night. I was watching as I was doing the video and it just ripped the cues higher. Yeah, I'll be looking to do a number of call spreads today. So Greg, you were mentioning SPY target. I think his name's Mike, the technician at Morgan Stanley. He says his best case is now 7,400 by year end. So that'd be what? Another 100 points higher. Mike Wilson, yeah. So yeah, people are bullish. But this is a big old gap. Two biggies. Microsoft. That's monster. This gap in all-time highs. Now the news is cheerleading about they're joining the $4 trillion club now. Meta, hats off to him for creating this thing in his college dorm of Facebooking your friends, and that's a money powerhouse. Look at that gap. But it's a bullish gap. But today's Thursday, which I like. And then if we do credit spreads, it's only one DTE. Alarms thing just went off. We only have a third left. Well, there I had an alarm at 149 right there. Just moved a 5-minute low. We only have a third. Part K alarm. Up alarm went off. We're in this in the ETF letter still. Laser. We did a half lot yesterday. Up alarm. You can do the back half over the high. XLV we're not in, but my low alarm went off. Yeah, it needs to hold here to have any interest. The lower it goes, the weaker it is. And that's all my alerts. Don't have many actually. We're actually fairly light inventory. BIDOs are only open on them in the credit spread. But if it can take out Tuesday's high, we'll do another put spread for next week. I posted it. So let's go right to earnings. It's a lot of big gaps. Here's this dunking from yesterday. It's not earnings. Alex mentioned this. I didn't want to do it ahead of the meeting with this end of day rally. And it's a great pattern for a put spread, but it has earnings next week. Oklo. It's bull rectangle here, gapping up to yesterday's high. Ideally, we get an inside bar, let it rest at the highs, and then do it tomorrow. These are just left over. This is not earnings. GPC I like over yesterday's high. Little, bull flag type of thing. SXT is a 1, 2, 3, 4. That's strong. Charter, it's a climb level, but no turn yet. Here we go with earnings. We already looked at those two. Ford. Interesting. Ford said they are reporting a loss because of tariffs. Then Trump says tariffs don't matter to anybody. Well, why don't you call Ford CEO up and Ford shareholders and ask them how they feel about that. ALB, it's not a Climo, it's a buy setup with a deep retracement, but it came down with power. So, you know, you gotta be careful. Like, it looks like it's gonna, well, it's gapping up a little, but ideally it would come down to the 50 to get it stretched more. You know, let's look at copper yesterday. Friggin' incredible. I have never seen, to my recollection, an ugly 15-minute bar like that. Well, daily, but here's 15 on any ETF of my life. I mean, that is a massive bar. And it's because of, well, I think I read Trump, instead of doing the tariff on actual copper, he's doing it on the products. And, you know, I don't understand all that, but I'm going to be looking for some of these things to bottom. Look at FCX got cracked also. It's a copper stock. But Alcoa, aluminum, it's a buy setup. That's worth watching. I have an alarm. Right back to earnings. Hood was up, now flat, nothing to do. But I mean, look, anything, any weekly that looks like that, I'm telling you, it's on borrowed time. Um, you know, not that it can't go more because monthly hasn't stalled yet, but this takes out Tuesday's low. That's a call spread candidate. KGC, nice gap up, but trading range. APLD, bullish gap. That's put spread candidate on a pullback. WDC. It's not a great gap and crap candidate because this is so strong here. But it's possible, the 1DT call spread. Oh, here, this middle chart, I'll show you a better one. Look at MOD. See, these are better gap and crap when they accelerate far from the 20 and then gap up. So that's 124, that's gapping up $11. So I have that here. We just gotta watch it. What would make it better is if this 15-minute chart was also vertical. This is actually a bullish 15-minute chart. So it's not a no-brainer yet. 18, wow, that's a monster nasty gap. Wow, look at the size of that gap down. Percentage wise, that is nasty. Oh, I meant to say earlier when I was looking at the Dow. Let me do it right now. This is very interesting on market breadth. So if you look at the Dow 30, which I have a minder of them all, Microsoft up 47, Amazon 6. Has Amazon earnings today? Yeah, Amazon up 6 earnings today, and NVIDIA up 3 and change. Other than those three stocks, where every other one's red. So that fact alone is just saying this is a very narrow, you know, gap up here today. And then, you know, Greg already covered the IWM's actually negative. So I'm surely not getting giddy on this move. I'm looking to, you know, tighten stop on longs and look for some definite call spreads. Qualcomm 153. Yeah, it's range bound, nothing to do. Yeah, no, you know, with it's strange also with semis down a little with the Qs up so much. GNW up a little bit. It needs to chop around for a while, but it's bullish. eBay is a monster gap. Look at that. Look at that deep retracement. It is a buy setup. Gap up to 87, $10. Now, again, 30-minute low. It's a bullish gap. I wouldn't swing short it, but day trade short and call spread or ideas. ALB, that's the one, Alex. Oh, okay, I didn't know it had earnings, Alex. So that's the one you mentioned. See if it can take out a 30-minute high, but momentum's down. XPM getting down, nothing. Golf Hotel, sloppy. Arm 149. Gap down's too big to be a call spread. So it's just range bound now. So Tish looks lower. It's down 4 bars, but still looks lower. AEM, another gold stock, bullish. Well, I liked it before when it was gapping to 127. Now it's coming in, so give it more time. Bottom monster gap. Well, this one, I was hoping it would break down to do a call spread, but look at that. It's a bullish gap. So, I put it in this category of excessive for a possible 1 DTE call spread because with the gap, the premiums are going to be jacked. Because people are all excited about it. The opposite of sell off and fear. RSI, big gap. Big gap. If there's 1 DTE, we're in that cycle where we have 2 weeks out now. That's slop, but if you were to get a bear 1, 2, 3, that would be a short, but I don't like the overlapping bars. G costs. Looks lower. I like yesterday's topping tail. I don't see any prints. We'll come back. MOB, that's the one I said, gap and crap. CMDX 123. That's a buy on a pullback. CGNX 3850. I always like showing you what would be a tier 1 gapper. If this was gapping right here to the top of this range, 3530, I'd say buy 5-minute high. Stop yesterday's low. Gapping over all that consolidation, but now the gap's too big. 10B, I would have said if it opened flat, short below, now 3551. That's a pro gap. It's igniting a new move up from sideways. So that's a buy on a pullback or a put spread. But you got to work your entry because it's up a 104 and change. Bullish gap, but too big. So this is a transport. Transport's got whacked yesterday, so that should help them a little. This totally looks like a picture of the earnings release, got released early, whether accidental or whatever, that's a nasty bar into earnings. MTG. This would be a good one if it, see, if it gaps over yesterday's bar. That's a nice reversal pattern. If it doesn't run, that's a 5-minute high idea. PPC, kind of a bull flag thing, but I got enough to look at. Algin, nasty gap. All right, look, Microsoft already getting sold off. I'm just, look at that. It's already down 12, 13, 14 bucks. But still, I don't chase these things. If I don't get my setup,
I might look at Google for a call spread, Dan. That's coming down 5-minute anyways, bearish, rolling top.
wow, that's a big 5-minute bar. Let's see how far away we can get. Yeah, you would have to do the 560s naked to get $1, but I'm not doing it within the first 5 minutes. Go, yeah, for tomorrow, 197.50. When is this earnings?
They're out already. I'm not sure.
Only 27 cents, no premium. Apple's earnings tonight, so not messing with that. Amazon coming in, but that's earnings tonight. And then Meta's holding well, which was fine. It means that it's still in play for a 30-minute high, but it's actually holding pretty darn well. But there's not more selling like Microsoft. But let's see what the 800s are. Still, wow, I don't know if this is updated or not. It's still showing a $42 expected move by tomorrow, which should mean that these calls should be jacked. No, that's impossible, but that's I something weird here. If it had a $41 expected move, the 810s, but that's naked, and it's an $800 stock. It's 115. But yeah, no, it's still in play. Let's just let it set up. This mod I mentioned, nah, that's not a good gap of crap yet. Let me check spreads anyway. Oh, Budweiser got whacked. I didn't get through all the earnings yet, but look at Bud bottom right. Well, mod doesn't have any weeklies. Has a juice though. Let's set an alarm on mod. Set an alarm. 24. Yeah, Q's coming in pretty hard. We can also do the 1 DTE on the Q's, don't forget. AEM there. AEM looks good. If they were to close like this, I'd buy it tomorrow over the high. Nice weekly 1, 2, 3. Nice kind of bull flag here. That looks good. I get Budweiser. Look, I had to take a double look. Look at this print down here. That's where it's trading. Did they have a new woke campaign or something? Remember down here is when they went woke with that tranny and everybody stopped drinking their beer. So yeah, I'm not rushing into that thing. MOD low alarm. I wouldn't do that unless it was 30-minute low. Mo low alarm. We're not in this, but I'm just monitoring it for a reversal. So new low alarm. 50, 165. RHIs are only open short, and that's doing well. Nice relative weakness to the market. Yeah, I got mod ripping there again, man. Let's reset the alarm. WTC, incredible move from $30 to 76. Incredible. Carvana. Man, that's a bullish gap. You remember when this thing was $25 and old Rita